All right, and good day, everyone, and welcome to day 182 out of A Course in Miracles. My name is Oliver Blue, and I'm your temporary guide for this workbook lesson. And this is part two. Forgive me there. This is part two of workbook lesson 181 as we started it on yesterday and got into it. And we decided that we needed to cut it in half because it really got in depth. And hopefully, you have gleaned uh, what the message, what the idea is in part one. And we're going to finish it up today. And just a reminder that these workbook lessons are being sponsored by Truly Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that is solely dedicated to the sharing of advanced spirituality for the sole purpose of helping humanity to come back up the ladder that the ego led us down, to help humanity wake up to their true identity and to assist in the renewing of our minds, which we realize that that is our hugest, our largest, you know, responsibility. Therein lies the fix. Therein lies the solution to most of our pain and suffering, to most of our misunderstanding, is an unrenewed mind, an undisciplined mind. Even the Course says that an undisciplined mind can accomplish nothing. And that is the aim of the Course, to reverse the way we think. And in reversing the way that we think, we reverse the way that we perceive. And in reversing the way that we perceive will reverse the way that we express ourselves in this incarnation. And so the thought in the workbook lesson is this: the idea, the God idea, is that I trust my brothers who are one with me. I trust my brothers who are one with me. And this is an all inclusive statement. We can say it this way: that I trust humanity who are one with me. So when we discussed this on yesterday, we made it perfectly clear that that which we trust is that which God created, not that which we made. So the trust is in the one self that we all share that God created. And in many cases, we know that a lot of us are asleep to that one self. And so we're not asking or requesting or stating or requiring that one would trust in the ideas of a sleeping mind. That would be ludicrous. To trust in the ideas of a ego mind or a separated self. That's because that that represents in and of itself insanity. And so that is not what is being asked here to trust, but what is being asked here to trust is in that which God created, which is what our perfect self, the one self that we all share, which is God itself. So basically, we say, I trust in God, and we say we trust in our brothers who are one with us, or one with me. So it is a trust in that which is what we call real or reality. So in order to trust that, we have to know what reality is. We must know what reality is, and we have covered it pretty extensively during these 181 days. That reality is that which is, it's another word or another term we use for God. That reality is what God is. And we have gone over the characteristics of that which is real on many, many occasions. I can find it here. and I might not be able to find it here. I may have placed it somewhere else. But when we talk about that which is real, we're talking about that which is truth. We're talking about that which is the one law of God. We're talking about that which is eternal, that which has no beginning and has no end, that which is formless and timeless, that which is without birth and without death, that which God and only love creates. We're talking about that which merely is. We're talking about the conscious awareness that God is. We're talking about life and life more abundantly. And so when it says that we are to trust in our brother, we're talking about trusting in that reality in which God created us, and not in the man-made self that we made from a place of fear, from a place of separation. That's not what we're to trust in. We have trusted in that, and this is where it has gotten us, gotten the world into a whole lot of mess. And now we're having to clean up the mess. And so we also talked about errors and mistakes, and how when we focus on errors and mistakes in others, it becomes a block to the awareness of the love presence or the reality of others. So we're training ourselves and practicing to look past errors and mistakes in others. More importantly, to look past the idea or the concept of sin which we created. If we get stuck on body identification, if we get stuck on a belief in sin, if we get stuck on someone's what we would perceive as someone errors or someone mistakes, and that becomes a block to us really seeing into reality. And so it is not what we see with our natural eye, but it's what we see through the knowledge of the truth. It's what we see through the reality of what God created. It's what we know through a direct experience of the love that God is and the love that we are. So that seeing is not what we observe with our natural eye, but it's what we see through the eye of the Spirit. You say, well, Oliver, where is the eye of the Spirit? It's everywhere present. It is reality, which is everywhere present. And the only way that we are unaware of that eye of the Spirit, or that which is everywhere present, is that our focus is on something else, like someone's mistake or someone's error or the concept of sin. It is the block to the awareness of love's presence. And so this lesson is about perception, how we perceive, how we interpret in this world of perception, this world of time and space. How do we now operate as perfected beings in an imperfected, what we call space? And it says that what we are focus, our perception is to focus on that which is real. Because when we focus on that, the idea of being, sinners, then that idea or that focus becomes a block to reality. So we have to train our minds to look past, to look beyond the illusion of sin, guilt, and fear, and look into the all-encompassing field of innocence and wholeness and completeness, which is not seen with the natural eye. And so it takes grace to see through the eye of the Spirit. In biblical terms, it says grace is multiplied to us through the knowledge, through the knowing of the truth. So it's the knowing of the self, knowing of our Creator, knowing of our brother that is so important. So important. It says that, and then we ended yesterday by saying, and what we saw in instant previous has no concern for us within this interval of time wherein we practice changing our intention. We change our intent and we seek for innocence and nothing else. So our intention is to seek for the innocence and nothing else, or the inner sense of knowing the oneness of God, the inner sense of knowing that our creation is whole and complete and perfect, with nothing missing and nothing broken. That we are complete in God because we share the same being or person or self that God is. That is what's so vital here, that we understand that there is not multiple beings, they're not multiple lives. We had a whole workbook lessons on there, that life is not a multiplicity of different kinds. There's only one kind of life. There's only one life, and it's God. And if we resist, and if we exist, and you know that you exist because you're conscious and you are aware, you're conscious to hearing me, you're aware of us, you're aware of your being. That is the only indication and proof you need that you are alive in God. God is the life that you are. God is the sustainer of your life. It is the mere fact that we are conscious and aware. And we know that we are. If you know that you are, then you know that you are. If you wasn't conscious, if you wasn't aware, you wouldn't be aware or conscious of anything. But because you are, that is all the proof you need that you are sharing the consciousness and the awareness of God. Now, your interpretation of that, your knowledge of that may be distorted, and that's why we're here renewing the mind, because the mind, seem to be operating through a separate mind that has a thing going on, its own thing going on. And so we concluded on yesterday that we're practicing changing our intention. And you have to practice that. You have to take charge of what your intentions are, what your purpose is. You have to be vigilant about it. You cannot just allow you can't just allow the separated mind to just go undirected and unguided through the day. You know where it's going to end up. It will not end up in innocence. So there has to be a concerted effort on our part. There has to be a concerted effort on our part. There has to be an intention on our part to live according to a certain reality or a certain unreality. When we don't make a decision, we're making a decision. We're always making a decision, whether we making one or not. To not make a decision, you're making a decision. To not make a decision to embrace the truth of who you are, you're making a decision not to embrace the truth of who you are. But you have to vigilantly make a decision to embrace the truth of who you are. And so we seek for innocence and nothing else. What's in opposition to innocence? Guilt. So what I'm understanding here is that if we allow our minds to have free reign and to guide itself, it will always guide us into guilt. Or guilt consciousness or sin consciousness. But if we are deliberate and intentional about what the way we show up in the world every day. That we will what? We will set our intentions on the innocence that we are, because we're all innocent. That's the issue. A mind that believes that is guilty is always on the run. Is always looking over his shoulder. Is always thinking that, the next turn around the corner is going to be what? It's going to be what? It's not going to be good. The self-image of a guilty person or a guilty mind, it has nothing that any of us would want. So it is an innocence that we intentionally, intend or intentionally seek to express and join with, because that is our reality. It says, we seek for it without no concern but for the now moment. See, you can't seek innocence in the past. You cannot seek innocence in the future. Innocence is only held in the present moment. And that's been the big block to us, not knowing that we've been preoccupied with the past. Past results, past relationships, past hurts, past pain, even past successes. All of that, anything that has to do with the past. We love to acknowledge the past. We love to build monuments about the past. We love to build shrines about the past. And in doing so, our focus is taken away from the now moment, where only innocence exists. We're so trained to be preoccupied with the future, where innocence do not reside in the future, nor the past. Innocence is an acknowledgement that in this now moment, in this present instant, in this time right here, where you and I are gathered here around this beautiful table that God has prepared for us, called life, called love. That in this now moment, as we focus on our oneness, as we focus on our innocence, as we focus on the reality that we are one with God and with each other, it is so easy in this moment then to say, I trust my brother, who are one. I trust my brothers or sisters. This is not a statement to gender. It's a statement to humanity. So we can say, I trust humanity, who are one with me in this now moment, without any reference to the past or the future. It can only be found in the now moment. Peace can only be found in the now moment. Love can only be found in the now moment. Your sanity can only be found in the now moment. If you're going back, rehearsing the past, you cannot find peace in that, or serenity in that. Or if you are anxious about the future, you cannot find any peace or love or joy or happiness in it. So everything in reality is in the present moment. We share with you a few lessons back from the scriptural reference in Psalms. I think it was Psalms. Can't remember the reference, but it was David that said, "Thou wilt show me the path of life." Or it was God that spoke to David and said, "I will show you the path of life." In other words, God said, I'm going to show you what life is all about. And then he finished that statement by saying, in thy presence is fullness of joy. In the presence is where life is. In the presence is where the fullness of joy is. In the presence is where your innocence reside. In the presence is where all of God is. God is present only. God is not past nor future. God transcends time and space. So in the field of all-encompassing presence, which is where reality resides, which is where God resides, which is where our true self resides, there is no time. So there is no past and there is no future. There's only the present. So how do we practice remaining and maintaining and abiding in the presence, which is where all the gifts of God are? It's where our life is. It's where everything resides. But we have been so highly trained in time and space, so highly trained in past and future, that it's hard for us to stay present. Look here in 2022. Most people are not present in the present moment. Their minds are preoccupied with the past or the future. And so no wonder there's so much chaos in the world. And if you're experiencing chaos in your life, it's generally because you're preoccupied with the past. And we had a whole workbook lesson, several workbook lessons that talked about preoccupation of the past. You're not seeing. You're not even thinking when we're preoccupied with past thoughts. Past events are happening. Oh, we have so much anxiety about the future. It says that what? We're not present. And so here is saying that we, in this particular practice, this particular lesson, it is our goal to seek for innocence and nothing else. And we seek for it with no concern but for the now present moment. In other words, your timeline and all the events and activity of your timeline. And when I say timeline, that is the time that you are aware of from your birth, or not your birth, but the birth of a body that you're aware of until this moment, and all that has happened between there and now. That is the past. Those are just activities that you've experienced. Has no bearing on your identity. Has no bearing on who you are. And what you might anticipate or desire in the future, or be concerned about the future. Whether you're concerned about, is there going to be enough, which is the biggest anxiety that we hold, is, the scarcity mentality. Is there going to be enough? Am I going to be supported? Am I going to have health in the future? At what age am I going to, face, physical challenge, death, and all this stuff that we get so focused on that keeps us out of the present moment. That's what it's designed to do. But he says the path of life is in the present. God said, in thy presence, there's fullness of joy and pleasures forevermore. The pleasures of life are in the present moment. That's why gratitude is such a powerful idea, when we are happy and grateful now for what is right now. That's gratitude. And in that gratitude helps produce an attitude, a God attitude, when we're grateful for the now moment and all that there is, because everything is in the now moment. Everything. There's nothing in the future. There's nothing in the past. And so that's where we stopped on yesterday. And so that's where we're going to pick up on today. And so in paragraph 4, it says, a major hazard. You know what a hazard is, right? You're going down the street, and all of a sudden, there's a road hazard. And if you don't pay attention, you might tear up your vehicle. It says a major hazard to our success in seeking innocence only now. A hazard to that has been involvement with your past and future goals. So the goals that we held in the past and the goals that we held concerning our future, he said that is a major hazard for our goals and future goals that we have held, that we've been involved in. It says that is the road hazard. It says you have been quite preoccupied. See, preoccupation. We have been preoccupied with how extremely different the goals that this course is advocating are from those that we held before. If you have been on this journey with us for 181 days, and if you have applied the workbook lessons as they have instructed us, not perfectly, but some consistency. If you have just embraced the ideas like we have been instructed, not to judge them, not to misapply them, not to think, not to apply based on how we feel about them, but just to apply them. It says, we've been preoccupied with how extremely different the goals of this course is advocating are from those that we held before. The course is what? Advocating. That we shift our focus, shift our goals to what we really want, to what really makes us happy, to what really is real versus that which is unreal. Okay? And we've kind of been preoccupied with, hey, if I do that, then see, that's when that preoccupation basically is that the ego continued to what? To try to guide and direct, your life in a way that it's not going to lead to peace. And where the course now is showing you that, and it's showing all of us that it's peace that we really desire. And peace comes through a knowing. It is fulfillment and tranquility and happiness and joy that we desire. And it's what God desires for us. What God has showed us, well, that comes from where he placed it. And all that's been placed within our God creation and not in what we made. And so we have to be willing to examine what we made, which the course is showing us is only going to lead to more what? Hurt and anger and frustration and suffering and pain. And so we may still be wrestling with the goals that we had prior to what the course is advocating here. And that's okay. That's part of the process. But we're acknowledging that there is still some preoccupation. He said, and you have also been dismayed by the depressing and restricting thought that even if you should succeed, you will inevitably lose your way again. The ego would have us be overly concerned about everything. Remember, it says one of the forms of death is what? Overly concerned about bodies, overly concerned about our future, overly concerned about our past, overly concerned is a strategy of the ego thought system to keep you preoccupied and to keep you in what? A defensive mode against that which is the truth. And it is the truth that we have come to realize that is our only deliverance, our only savior. It's our only way out of pain and suffering. So it says, how could this even matter? How could past or future goals even matter. It says, for the past is gone. Why are we focusing on that which doesn't exist? It's a waste of what? It's a waste of time. He says, the future but is imagined. Why would we concern or be overly concerned about a future that is imagined? It's not even real. And that's why all life experience is experienced in the now moment. This is what he's trying to teach us here. That it is in the now moment that every it says, every good and perfect gift comes in the now moment. All of the pleasures of God, all of the gifts of God are in the now moment. All of your security, all of your identity, all of your reality, all of your truth, all of your happiness and joy and peace, it resides right now in this holy instant that we are experiencing right now. Can we stay present? Even while I'm sharing with you in this lesson, is your mind present? Or are you thinking about what happened yesterday or what may happen tomorrow or next year? You could be so aloof, sitting there listening. Listen, even I have to discipline my mind that even as I'm teaching here, when thoughts are knocking on the door that wants some attention, I have to what? Be disciplined enough to say, no, I am doing this. I'm in the moment here. I'm sharing workbook lesson 181 part 2. And it's good. I have no time for the past or the future. I'm in the now moment. And the now moment always makes me happy. It always thrills me. It always is filled with the fullness of God in the now moment. When I can maintain my presence, it's when I can maintain my innocence. When I stay present in the now moment. Jesus said, there is no need to worry. There's no need to worry about the past. There's no need to worry about the future. He said the animals, he says the flowers, they don't worry. They know that they are sustained by the love of God. But why are we worrying about the past or the future? It is a part of the strategy of the ego thought system to stay in control of our life. For the past is gone and the future but imagined. It says, these concerns are but defenses. This now. Preoccupation with the past and the future are but defenses or fences which we build in our mind. And these fences become blocks to the awareness of the love's presence. It becomes blocked to us staying present, where the joy, where the fulfillment, where the contentment is, being content and fulfilled in this present moment. Jesus said you cannot add one jot or tittle to your reality. So why add past and future concerns when all there is now, right now? Where's your mind right now? Where's your thinking right now? Where's your focus right in this moment? Even as you're listening to me talk. This is the discipline that we need to apply to ourselves so that we retrain ourselves to remain present at all times. You've been around people where they're so preoccupied with the past or the future, and it may be you in practice that you've been in. I've done it, and each and every day, I have to remind myself that no, I'm staying in the present moment. It's a discipline, and when you veer off the course. You just get back in line. Therein lies your inner sense. Therein lies your inner sense of the presence of God. It's not in the future, it's not in the past, but therein lies your inner sense of the oneness of God. Not in the future, not in the past, but it is in this now moment. Therein lies everything that is. All that is present right now. And it doesn't matter the external conditions that you might be finding yourself in. Doesn't matter. They are only a reflection of the past. It doesn't matter that the thoughts of future scarcity or afraid of where the thing is going. Most of us are concerned about our own nation. Where is this world going? Where's the nation going? Where's the world going? What about the future of this world? It appears that we're, on a collision course with our own destruction. And see, the ego will have you overly concerned about that. Why? Because you would have to leave the present moment to think about these things. And when you leave the present moment, you have left your innocence. You left your wholeness, your completeness, your oneness. You have left everything that is real. And as I'm talking here, you can see clearly how we have just so been taken off focused. We have focused. We've put in our focus and our energy into a past we can't do anything about, and a future we can't control. And all it's done is create more anxiety. But when we remain in the present, for in thy presence is fullness of joy and pleasures. See, fullness and pleasure. That's what we desire. God said they're in the present. Because that is where your innocence is. Therein lies your innocence. Therein lies your original creation. You can only do something about the present moment. You can't do anything about the past. You have to do absolutely nothing. You can only do about the present. So that means that in the presence is perfection. This present moment, I can correct the way I think. I can correct the way I perceive. I can release and let go of all that doesn't serve reality right now. I can't do it. I can't go back in the past and do it. I can't move into the future and do it. I can only do it now. So this is a discipline and a training that we all need, all of us. And I thank God. I'm grateful for this Course in Miracles that bring these type of revelations and reality to us so that we can now, have a path to follow. And it's so straightforward. It doesn't need interpretation. It's very simple. It says we seek for innocence and nothing else. That's very straightforward. And where it's not like we're seeking for something that is not present, but we seek for it because it is present. It's everywhere present. God himself is innocent. Who we are in our original creation is innocence. So it is present. We were just made unaware, or we forgot our innocence because we became so preoccupied with guilt and sin and fear that we were trained that that's what we were, and that's not the truth. God did not create sin, guilt, and fear, and God is the only creator that there is. So once we line up these principles and ideas of truth, when we get things straight and in order, then we're able to think correctly. And that's another reason Course in Miracles resonates with me. It teaches us how to think correctly and what to think correctly. So, these concerns are but defenses against present change of focus and perception. Remember, we said early in our process that what is a miracle? The book is called A Course in Miracles. When we hear the word miracle, there are many things that come to mind based on what the past. But here in this now moment, let's talk about what the miracle is. What is the miracle? Miracle is when we decide to shift our perception. That's what the miracle is. And we make that decision based on revelation, based on a truth, based on the light, based on reality of our true identity. To where we release the point of view that we embraced based on separation, based on what we made, based on fear, guilt, and sin, consciousness. We release that point of view and we embrace the point of view from the oneness and our oneness with God. So it is the truth that sets us free, to make us shift in the way that we perceive everything. And the number one thing that we need to shift our perception in is ourself, our self-concept of ourself or our self-image. Just a shift in how we see ourselves. And we need to shift to the way God sees us. And God knows what He made, and what He made is perfect and whole and complete. And so we need to shift our perception and base our perception on the fact that we are made perfect and whole and complete. That is the real self that we are. So that's the shift we make as we are engaged in these thoughts of God that has been introduced to us, these 180 something days, where we now don't see ourselves having a beginning or an end. We don't see our life beginning in the birth of a body, but we see that our life has never had a beginning. It's always existed in God. Before time was, before there was any matter, before there was a world of physicality. That our beginning has no beginning and that our end has no ending. So we need to shift the way we see ourselves based on those realities. When we come to find out that we are not the individual selves that we thought we were. When we come to find out that we are not what our body identification is. We're not what occurred at birth. But that is just an experience in the mind. So when we come to embrace that, the reality that is not who we are, but that we share this one self that God is, that there's only one that God is, and there is nothing else. When we embrace this thought of God, which is the truth, then we shift our perception based on that reality. That even though we appear to be in a world of multiplicity, where there are multiple bodies and multiple things, but in reality, there's only the one thing. When we shift our thinking to, to embrace the reality that there is not multiplicity, there's only the one. And we make that shift. That shift in the perception is the miracle. When we embrace that we have this one self called God, and we all share in that one self. That's where the whole idea of family comes in. That's where the whole idea of brotherhood comes in, of oneness. Even though there appear to be all these billions and billions of expressions, but all these million and billion of expression is expressing the one thing. It has its one source, one energy, one life, one what? Mind. All the infinite intelligence that there is comes from the one source that we all share. When we embrace that reality, we shift our perception from that of division, from that of separation to that of oneness. And it's in that shift that a miracle occurs. So that's what a real miracle is. It's just a mere shift in our perception. When we hear the truth, or we are reminded of the truth that's already within all of us, because the truth is in all of us. What God created remains as it was created. So there's a place within you that knows the real McCoy. It resonates with you when the truth is heard and you are brought into remembrance. So that's all we're doing here, bringing you into the remembrance of the truth. It resonates with your perfect being. When I say that you are perfect and whole and complete and innocent, that resonates with your true self. Your ego self will, uh, will oppose it, but the true nature that you are, the God that you are, the one reality that exists that you are, embraces it, accepts it, resonates with it. So I'm here but as a reminder. Because remember, the voice that speaks for God came into this world with all of us. And it's been with you all of your life, all of your earthly life. We have just built fences against it. We have built altars against it, so as to depress and muffle the voice that has been speaking to us all our life. And now, this voice, for some reason, my voice is resonating with those that are listening to me. Others' voices who are speaking the word of light is resonating with others. So I think God got the voice in every form. See, there's no excuse for waking up. God has put the signpost on every corner of your life. Everywhere you turn, there is a reflection of the truth. Also, there's a reflection of that which is not real. But we have to decide to come back to that which is real. God's not going to coerce us, but God is not going to leave us nor forsake us. But the good news is that God guarantees that eventually, when we all wake up, every human experience, every expression of life will eventually come home. That's the guarantee. He said when he could swear by no greater, he swore by himself that is going to happen. That's God's plan. That's God's idea. And I'm evidence of it. I'm proof of it. Why? Because I awoke to the truth. I know who I am. I'm convinced about it. I know who you are. I'm convinced about that too. So I am the substance of things hoped for. I'm the evidence of things not seen. And so are you when you walk in the light. I'm the light of the world. I'm the savior of the world. That's my role. That's my function. That's everyone's role. That's everyone's function. That's everyone's calling. All has been called, but only a few have chosen in the moment. But the moment is not over. Each moment is the moment. See? So reality is we all wake up at the same time. When you awake to your reality, all humanity wakes up. Because there's only the one moment. Isn't that something? Isn't God amazing? The wisdom of God is so amazing. And we've been taught that God is so concerned about what's going on in the world. That it's almost like God's sitting, wringing his hand out. Why don't they do what is right? And that's not truth. Truth has not moved one iota. God hasn't moved one iota. In fact, God's not even aware. God's not even aware of your suffering. It could only happen in dreams. When you dream, is anyone else aware of your dreams? No. Unless you tell them. So when you fall into a dream of suffering, God's not aware of that. God only knows love. Sometimes I get beside myself, I know it. And I have to have a drink. So we lay these pointless limitations to the side because they're pointless. God's not concerned about the past nor the future. And we shouldn't either. This piece is pointless. We lay these pointless limitations aside. Concerns about the past and future are limitations. Worry is a limitation. Doubt is a limitation. Innocence is unlimited. Wholeness, completeness is unlimited. We do not look to the past beliefs. Why? Because they're limiting. We do not look to the past beliefs. And what we will believe will not intrude upon us now. In other words, we won't look to the past belief, and we won't look to the future, because we were not going to allow it to intrude upon our practice today. We are practicing today, staying in the now present moment. We enter in the time of practicing with one intention, to look upon, and that intention is, our intention today is to look upon the sinlessness within. That we are sinless. That we are innocent. To be sinless is to be innocent. To be innocent is to be sinless. That is what this training is all about. Because we got trained that we were sinners and separate from God. We were trained, highly trained in that idea. So this whole practice, and it's a practice. You have to practice this. You have to practice knowing that you are sinless, that sin is not real, but you are innocent, and innocence is real. You have to practice that. If you don't believe me, you're hearing me right now, and once this lesson is over, you may be embracing your innocence right now. Once this lesson is over, in an hour from now, sin, the thought of sin consciousness will come knock back on your door and say, "Let me in." So you have to practice. Say, "No, no, no, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." So we're practicing with one intention today, and that is to look upon the sinlessness within. We look at ourselves and we see that ourself is the God self. We see that God and I are one. So it's impossible. It is absolutely impossible for the idea of sin even to enter into any part of your reality, let alone your thinking. So we recognize that we have lost this goal. Which goal? Our sinlessness, our innocence. It says, we recognize that we have lost this goal if anger blocks our way in any form. So anger is a block to the awareness of love's presence. Sin consciousness, guilt, and fear are blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And if a brother's so-called sin occurs to us, like it has in the past, and we want to judge it, right? We want to we want to not see the brother's innocence, but to see what has been placed as a block to the brother's innocence, which we call sin. It says, our narrow focus will restrict our sight and turn our eyes upon our own mistakes, which we will magnify and call our sins. So in other words, what it's saying here is what we see in another is what we're actually seeing in ourselves. Our self-concept, our self-image of ourselves is but being projected out and reflected back. And we think we're seeing another. We're projecting it on another. And in reality, it's just a reflection of what we're still holding on in our own thinking, in our own perception. We still don't see the innocence that we are. We still don't see, or we still haven't embraced the sinlessness that we are. And so we take our natural, what we call our natural sight, and we focus it on someone else, what they may be saying or doing or being. And we say that they're sin, they're wrong, they're mistakes and their errors. And we stop there. We can't look past that to see the light of who they are. And that is only a reflection of what we're thinking in our own self. So the world will always mirror back to you what you're thinking. The world will always show you what you're thinking. So if all you can see is error and mistake in others, or what you call sin in others, that is what you're seeing in yourself. Because remember, there's only one of us. Your brother is you. You are your brother. So what you call your brother, you're calling yourself. What you think about your brother, you're thinking about yourself. Don't mind need discipline, a whole lot of it, right? Because we've been highly trained. thousands and thousands of years have gone by. And all of that residual effect of unbelief, all that residual effect of belief in separation has been piled on and passed on. And that's what we find ourselves trying to wade through in the darkness. But the light has come. So, for a little while today, without regard to the past or the future, should such blocks arise, we will transcend them with instructions to our minds to change their focus. So we are to instruct the mind. We instruct the mind. Anytime that there is a what? There is a block that arises. Anytime there is a perception that arises or a thought that arises that will cause you to lay your eyes and stop on what we call mistakes or errors or sin. In that moment, we're going to instruct our minds to change its focus. As we say this, it is not this that I would look upon. This is not what I would look upon because it's not the truth. But I trust my brothers. I trust what God created, who are one with me. That's our practice today. And you'll get many, many opportunities. As blocks arises, as the normal blocks arises, the normal thinking patterns arise, for us to say, no, this is not what I would look upon today. But what I would look upon and what I will do is trust my brothers. Trust what God created, who are one with me, because I trust what God created in my own self, which has never changed. So to trust humanity in its original creation is to trust what God created. And God created you. And we will also use this thought to keep us safe throughout the day. We do not seek for long-range goals, as each obstruction seems to block the vision of our sinlessness. Long-range goals do. We seek but for cease, or the cessation, or the ceasing. We seek only for the ceasing an instant from the misery the focus upon sin will bring. The focus upon sin and guilt, the focus upon error and mistakes, it said it brings sin consciousness. And uncorrected will remain. If not corrected, if sin consciousness is not corrected, it will remain. We're going through this exercise, in every exercise, each day, to correct sin consciousness. In other words, our focus on separation is what sin consciousness is. Our focus on the past and the future, that's what sin consciousness is. Which leads to guilt, which leads to judgment. You see the pattern here? Nor do we ask for fantasies. For what we seek to look upon is really there, which is what love's present. What's really present is God. God is everywhere present. Therefore, you are everywhere present. All humanity is everywhere present. And that's what we look for. And not present in guilt and judgment and sin consciousness. Present in innocence and in wholeness and oneness and completeness. And as our focus goes beyond mistakes, notice now we look beyond mistakes, we will behold a wholly sinless world. And remember what the world is. The world is a false idea about who we are. We will see a sinless world, we would see all humanity in its sinlessness, a shift in our perception. When seeing this is all we want to see, when this is all we seek for in the name of true perception, now we've entered into what we call true perception. We're seeing everything as God created it. Even the world, we see the sinlessness of the world. The world is a thought system, it's an idea. The world is not, we're not talking about physicality. It says, when seeing this is all we want to see. That's all we want to see. We want to see God. We want to see the truth. We want to see reality. We're tired of looking at the illusion that has made us absolutely drunk to the point that, and high to the point that we're hallucinating in a state of being in a nightmare. We don't want that anymore. It says, when seeing this is all that we want to see, when this is all we seek for in the name of true perception, are the eyes of Christ inevitably ours? So now we're seeing through what Christ's vision, or the eyes of Christ. And the love he feels for us becomes our own as well. This will become the only thing we see reflected in the world and in ourselves, just through a tiny shift in our perception, based on the truth, based on the light of God's truth. So see, truth is our only way out. Truth is your only way out of suffering and pain and misery. Truth is your only way out of playing this role of trying to make a self, trying to make significance, trying to find value in the world. Your truth, the truth of reality is your only way out of that. It's the only way out. The only way to be your true self is truth. You don't have to go out into the world and try to find yourself. You are yourself. It's already been found. And it's spelled R-E-A-L-I-T-Y, reality. The world which once proclaimed that we were sinners become the proof that we are sinless. Why? Because you're looking through the eyes of Christ. And you see a sinless world. And it reflects back to you, your innocence. And our love for everyone, notice now, the love of Christ is the love for everyone. Why? Because there's only the one. And our love for everyone we look upon attests to our remembrance of the Holy One self, which knows no sin and never could conceive of anything without its sinlessness. We embrace the holiness that we are indeed the holy home of God herself. We are that. We seek for this remembrance. Jesus said, please do this in remembrance of me. What was he talking about? He wasn't talking about his personal self. He was talking about what he represented. He said, do this in remembrance of me. What? Embrace your sinlessness, your wholeness, your completeness in remembrance of me. He said, that's your escape. That's your way out. That's your way out of the prison that you built. That is the key to let you out of jail, out of your own jail that you made. We seek for this remembrance as we turn our minds, notice now, to practicing today. The mind is what has to practice. We look neither ahead or backwards because all you'll find there is sin, guilt, and fear. We don't we turn our minds neither forward nor backwards because there is no peace forward or backwards. There's only peace now. There's only truth now. There's only reality now. There's only innocence now. There's only holiness now. There's only completeness now. There's only joy now. There's only pleasures right now. When we release the past and the future, what a weight off of us. What a weight off your mind. We become like the lilies of the field. We know our Father what cares for us. When we let go of the past and the future, we know that we are one with all creation. And there's no worries, man. That all things are working together for our good. We look neither ahead or backwards. We look straight into the present. We look straight. We don't look into a glass darkly. To look at the past or the future is to look into a glass darkly. But we look straight. We look face to face. And then God takes the final step. We're no longer face to face, but we have become that which was reflected. We are the light that reflects. We are the love, the joy, the peace. We are everything. We are life itself. We become the thing that we were looking for. Oh, we realized that we were the thing we were looking for all the time. And we give our trust to the experience we ask for now. We give our trust to the experience that we have asked for, which is innocence. We trust our innocence. We trust our wholeness and our completion. We trust our holiness. We trust our oneness with God in all creation. With God in all creation. We have released and let go of the tiny mad idea of separation. And we have embraced the one reality that God is and that we are the I am that God is. Say it again. We are the I am that God is. And there is nothing else but that. We are the innocent ones. We are the sinless and the guiltless ones. And not only us, but all humanity. Our sinlessness is but the will of God. That's what we conclude. That we're innocent. And that our sinlessness is but the will of God. And it's but our will to be free. To have a consciousness and an awareness that is free from sin, guilt, and fear. To experience only the love of God, the love of Christ. Only. So here, the Course says we teach only love because that is all there is in reality. All there is in reality, listen to me. Hear me well. All there is, if you've never heard this before, you can mark this date in this lesson. All there is in reality is love. And that is what you are. That is what you are. That is what we are training our mind to come back into what? Harmony with that reality. It's only the undisciplined mind that is opposing this reality. That's the only opposition there is. And so the one thing that the Course said that we're responsible for doing is renewing that mind. No longer being conformed to that mind, but being transformed by the renewing of the mind. And that's what we're doing. That's why it's vital that you, in some form, some path, that you be on a path of renewal. That should be first and foremost in your life. Whether it's following A Course in Miracles or following other paths. There's many other paths that will lead us to God. But you need to be you need to have made a committed decision to renew your mind to the truth of who you are. That's the only thing that really matters. That's the only thing that really matters. And so, this is but the will of God. This instant, this moment, right now, okay, is our willing one with His. We, in this moment, are willing with His willingness to embrace the only will there is, and that is our innocence, our sinlessness in this moment, and we embrace it right now. And like Jackie Gleason used to say, and how sweet it is. All right. Well, Workbook Lesson 181 has proved to be taking us into higher dimensions, more expanded awareness of who we are. We got 19 more of these lessons before we hit another review lesson. So buckle up. We're going somewhere. And when we get there, we're going to realize that we were already there. We just been on a journey without a distance. Why? Because there's only heaven. There's only the now moment, and it's always present. It appears to us that we're climbing up a ladder. It appears to us that we're going from glory to glory and dimension and levels to levels and all this. But in reality, you are right where you have always been. And that is in the heart of a loving Father. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been my pleasure to be your temporary guide, your coach, your brother. Trust, my brothers. Trust in God's creation, who are one with me. Selah.